I've done enough spiritual videos over the past few years. I've done my book, Losing Your Mind to Find Your Soul, which, that's all about spiritual journey, but the beginnings of it and embracing it. It includes manifestation, synchronicities, tarot. There's a lot in there. I'm also in the process of writing the next one, which will release next year, which should release next year. So I've covered a lot. And sometimes it's a case of what's been left unsaid, what more needs to be said. So a video come up, and it come up while I had my daughter, so I didn't have a chance to create a video, and I thought, I need to get back to doing this. And I think it's a really interesting video because it raises questions. And the one thing I want to make a point here is life is a journey, and it's for each of us to discover the truth for ourselves. It's not embellish the truth. It's not try to believe something just because we want to. It's like, what do you genuinely believe? And I think that's really important because it's for us to think for ourselves. For instance, my daughter made a comment about something she'd heard about Zeus, the god, one of the Greek gods. And I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said apparently it's like he split everybody's soul. So you had to spend your life trying to reconnect with the other half or something. And she said, do you think that's true? And I said, to be honest, it doesn't really matter what I think. It's like, what do you think? It's not a case of, it's not what do you want to believe, like what do you genuinely believe, And then from there, you've got somewhere to start, and then you'll start to figure out later on with more knowledge, more experiences, you'll start to gravitate in one direction or the other. But it's for you to discover it in your lifetime. So it's not always believe everything you hear, but you have your own experiences. Now I'm going to share what this priest says, and there's truth to it. In what I believe, my experiences, there's truth to what he's saying. But sometimes I think they can be very regimented, very much. They read scripture too deep, and sometimes it's misinterpreted. Of course, he's talking about experiences, but I think it's going to be interesting to just show this and then explain a little bit further.
How does one get possessed?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The two biggest ways are dabbling in the occult,
What does that mean?
playing with demonic things, Ouija boards, going to a psychic, tarot cards, or actual occult worship of the devil. Those are pretty much immediate open doors that you're going to have demons come right in.
Psychics are demonic.
They're not channeling your dead relatives. Well, the psychic told me my mother shared this with me when I was 10, and nobody ever knew that but us. So it has to be my mom, except for the demons in the room who also heard it. And now they're impersonating your mother.
Wow.
They can put up a good show. They can also place thoughts in our minds, and they can manipulate our emotions. And when you have that trifecta, the person is 100% believes it's their mother.
So it's true. Part of what he says, for my belief, it's true. But there's a misconception within all of that. He's pretty much saying that anyone that connects with source spirit is only ever connecting with dark entities who are manipulating. The reality is that can happen. To say that's the only way it happens, I think is really stupid. Now, one of the main things is it really going to depend on your vibration as well. So you have to do your level of protection. Talk about it all the time. You can only say it so many times. Like, for instance, before I did this video, I'm doing my light shield around me. I'm calling my guides and angels, come close protection. That's the bare minimum we should be doing. Now, I have things happen to me sometimes. It happens because I'm a light worker. I'm a light warrior. So I get targeted. And when things happen, I stay calm. I don't panic. I just stay calm because, attacks happen. And it's like an energetic thing. You can feel something pulling or something weighing you down, all these sort of things, I had something recently happen was a bit more weird. But I just stay calm and I call upon Archangel Michael to cleanse the energy, remove any negative entities or energies around me, and clear the space. And I kid you not, I'm not manipulating myself. This is experience I have. I'm only sharing it. Again, it doesn't mean no difference to my life and my experiences, what other people believe or not. This is just what I experience. So after a few seconds, maybe 3 seconds, it's very quick, but there's like a little delay, if you like. All of a sudden, whatever's bothering me, it dissipates. Peace comes over me. And my vision, for instance, and this is an interesting thing. My vision just goes bright. When my eyes are closed and it just goes bright. And if the space clears, I know he's done his work because I'm no longer feeling targeted. I feel peace and it feels cleansed. And that's how that is. Yeah, it's quite surreal. So, for instance, I'm high vibrational, but there's days when you're low and there's days when you're targeted. Maybe you haven't done enough protection that day. There's little things. So, of course, in those moments, yeah, you could be manipulated. If something could get close enough to you, it can happen. So there's days sometimes when I go to do my protection, for instance, and it's like I shut my eyes and it's dark, and I'm like, crying out loud. Like, if it's bright, I know I'm high vibrate. Everything's going to be nice. It's like I can just I can easily picture the light around me because my vision's light. You know. Sometimes it's dark, and I'm like, all right, this is a problem. And sometimes no matter how much I try, it'll stay dark. So that means I'm being targeted at that moment. Something's bothering me. It's trying to interfere, and that can happen. And I've already had a lot of very gifted mediums tell me certain things about my path. I've had very beautiful sessions. I've done my own readings. So I know I am in the spirit realm. I am a high ranking spirit. So that's the reason I get targeted in this life. But I also know I have a lot of energy in me. So sometimes I can literally, in my vision, go from complete darkness to burst the light out of me and cleanse my area myself. Sometimes I can't, which tells me it's quite fierce what's trying to stop me. And that's when I call Archangel Michael, and he never fails. And that's something I want to make a point here is I see a lot of people, they'll pray to God, Jesus, however you want to do it. And that's how they seem to think that's what's going to heal them. And, you know, I'm not saying one way or another that's what does or doesn't. What I'm telling is my experiences. I don't do that. I just call Archangel Michael in. I initially call my guides and angels in close protection so that I know they're surrounding me. And I do my light. And when I feel it's called upon, I will call upon Archangel Michael to come in and help. But I never ever call for God or anything like that. It's almost like I'm specific to I see it as like an echelon. I spoke about it in my book. I'm not sure if I spoke about it in Lose Your Mind or the one I'm writing at the moment. But it was more along the lines of, oh no, it was in that Under the God chapter. There's no real need for us really to try to keep reaching out to the highest hierarchy. You know, there's ones that are there to help us, and it's like, you know, make peace, getting comfortable, getting to know them. But if you're low vibrational and you do negative things all the time, there's a chance you are being manipulated, and you have negative entities around you. So of course, at that point, you are more susceptible to being given negative guidance, and you really shouldn't be opening channels. So if I'm going to be honest, like when I do my tarot cards and I ask anything, I'm only ever communicating and asking directly to my guides. That's all I do. I'm not asking to connect to someone else's guides. I'm not into that. That's why I don't really do readings for other people, because I don't know what's around them. And I'm not playing with it. You know, I'm high vibrational. I do my protection. I can connect profoundly to my guides. The same can't be said for everybody. You know, some people are literally low vibrational, and I don't really want to be connecting to their energy and gravitating whatever they've got around them now attracting to me. So I am very careful. I only communicate with my guides. So I'll ask them about my life, my career. Like, am I doing the right things at the moment? Should I be doing this? Is everything in alignment? So, for instance, I'm not going to give away the whole reading. I've got screenshots on my phone, like photos. I recently did reading about career, and it was spot on. You know, it wasn't deviating too much. It was like, you know, it was saying what the situation is at the moment. When I did the at the back of the deck, which is current energy, and it was perfect. It was like, you know, you're struggling, and it's like, yeah. I also asked, is everything going exactly how it's supposed to? And it was yes. You're in the middle at the moment is the current, which is not a good place. It's like really tough. On the other side of that, you got your breakthrough, and things are going to pick up quite heavily. I did love. I did other things. And I get the signs, and I kid you not, this is relentless. The signs I get, and again, I'm not looking for validation anyway. I'm just telling my experiences. I've asked about my daughter, will she get married? It was yes. Will she get married in her 20s? No. Will she get married in her 30s? Yes. Then I did it recently again. Same thing happened again. A no card comes straight up for no on the 20s. When I did 30s, we got the Two of Cups, and which is soulmate. So that, you know, and it's consistent. That's the main thing. It's consistent. So I get it all the time. Yeah, I don't need to convince anyone of anything. I just think it's really important that we have an open mind about the journey, because people will scare others off. But it's all about where you are on your journey, though. You know, we're not all going to be sort of high vibrational. And that's the thing. Sometimes you've got to grow to get there. My daughter's very gifted. You know, I'm not going to go into the gifts people have. Oh, phone's getting crazy at the minute. But it's really up to us to grow into it. Really, my book is going to help people, because this was literally written as I was going on my spiritual journey and as I was developing further. And then I rewrote a little bit towards the end of last year with some added bits. But really, that's going to, I think anyone starting a journey, this is going to really resonate, because you get to see me embracing tarot for the first time. The new book that I'm working on, I go a bit deeper in things, show more of my experiences and what I've been going through. But I've had wonderful sessions. I've been asking about past loved ones, if they've got anything they want to say to anybody, you know, that come through quite clear. I have had visions. I've been told I'm very gifted, but I don't tap in a lot. I just really just ask questions and move on with my day, because I'm too busy and my mind's preoccupied. But I've had beautiful visions. And I've done, if you on my playlist on TikTok, I've shared the visions. But again, they'll probably be more included within the upcoming book. And that's what I want people to see. You know, I don't sugarcoat anything. That's the thing with me. I'm just transparent. I'm not here to say one way is the only way. A few years ago, I would have been, because I think when you're, there's a level of arrogance. I think when you start to uncover something, you seem to think you're the right. It's definitely this way. As you grow into it, you realize that it's for people to believe what they want to believe. It's not for me to convince anyone of anything. So now I don't actually care. But in the past, I would have said this, and it's like now it's like I don't. You know, believe what you want to believe. Don't believe what you don't. But a lot of people, what they'll do, they'll gravitate to what they want to believe rather than what they do believe. And they'll convince themselves because it's safe. Like I've got family members who, they believe certain aspects of spirituality, but when it goes too far, they get scared and then they start giving funny looks. But it's like, wait, you believe up to there, but you don't believe beyond it? It doesn't make sense. But again, they just play safe. Terrified of their shadows, you know. I'm always elevating. I'm always working on myself. I'm always fine-tuning. Like I say, I ask where I'm at. I recently had a travel. My car needed repairing. I didn't know whether it was safe to drive home. I wanted to get home. I had this huge pull to get home, because I wanted to do these videos. I wanted to work on my books. I wanted to do things, and I've got appointments. So I asked my cards, is my car safe to travel? And it was yes. I can't remember the exact cards now. I didn't bother taking photos. And I said, should I travel home? Because I was going to stay with my mum for about a week, over like 10 days, because I was going to get the car repaired, and it was that was the appointment. And it's 100 miles. There's all sorts of things, and it was just simpler. And I felt a huge pull to come home. So I've asked my cards, should I go home? And it was like, I can't remember the exact cards, but it's yes. But when I looked at the back of the deck, it was the High Priestess, which is like a spiritual knowing. It's really your intuition. You know, you're clued in. You know. And there was a huge pull to get home. Then I said, should I stay here though? You know, because I was trying to call double bluff, really, see if that says something similar. And it was no. Again, I can't remember the exact cards now, because I didn't take photos. But it was a clear and obvious yes, and the intuition for going home, and a clear and obvious no. Well, actually, it was giving me options. There was an options card, but then it was like more of a negative card. It's more like it was like in your way, you know. And I felt that's how I was feeling. It was like, this is blocks getting on my nerves. And like I say, I do everything in alignment. I actually ask Spirit an awful lot of questions now, because I trust them. I trust my guides more than I trust anyone on earth, really. It's just crazy. That's the connection I've built with them. I can ask a question, and it's absolutely crazy how on point it is, you know. So if I'm not sure of something, I'll ask. So if I was given a business deal, for instance, this is how much I have faith in this. Again, compared to what they're saying here, I have faith that I do the right things. I have faith that I'm watched over. I have faith that I get the right guidance. I have faith that the questions I ask for are received by the right people or entities, beings. So if I was offered a massive contract, let's say it was a massive deal to do whatever I'm being called to do, whether it's my books, whether it's public speaking, whether it's another opportunity, and I'm not quite sure, because my intuition, because let's say my intuition, maybe my gut instinct saying this ain't quite right. But maybe everything in your brain is saying, yeah, this is a great deal. Look at the money. Look at the life you can have. Let's say I'm a bit unsure. I'd have no hesitation to pull my tarot cards out and ask Spirit myself, should I accept this deal? And if it comes up no, I kid you not, I have no doubt that it's my guides, not negative entities throwing me off. My guides. And I would say no if I'm advised to say no. I would walk away. That's my level of faith in it. And that's it. I mean, I don't know what to ask at the moment. I would shuffle and ask questions, but I've asked so much recently. It's like I don't really know what I need to ask. Yeah, it's hard. I don't really know. I've got no questions in mind at all. But like I say, my books cover a lot. My books cover an awful lot of the spiritual journey, personal transformation, healing. And I actually think personally, anyone reading my book will see my journey. And again, it's not about believing everything I believe, but really it comes down to understanding the process, what got me there. And then believe what you want. You know, some people will lean into religions more than spirituality, and that's fine. I recently had a session with Jesus. I asked him specific questions through my tarot card. Freaking temperance. Yeah, out in the cold with the money, financial opportunities. I don't know how to do this because the camera is terrible. But yeah, I asked sneaky, this sort of thieves in the lurking. But yeah, I asked Jesus about his crucifixion or things like that. And I got it was absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't say accurate because again, that's perceptions. It felt accurate to me. It contradicted a bit of what people believe already. But it was more how poignant the responses were. They weren't vague. You know, there's vague cards in tarot. There's very specific yes cards in tarot. And the cards matched what was being said. I've actually got a video somewhere on TikTok that showed that, which was quite cool. One of the visions I had was I was trying to do my protection, and all of a sudden flowers started blooming, and then Jesus approached me in the vision and said he was proud and gave me a hug. And at that sign, I was getting tarot readings on TikTok that were pointing towards you've reached the top of the mountain and your guides and your spirit and the guides, the angels are proud of you. And then randomly I get that. So there's other ones as well. I don't want to go into them because they're personal to me now. I've shared them, but I'm not going to share everything I do now because I think it's important that people start to have their own experiences. Because that's what it all comes down to. You know, you can be closed off and really reduce the chance of frequency of having things happen. Or you can elevate yourself and start doing things in alignment. It's a bit like what I was talking to my nephew recently about. I was saying to him because he's recently lost his job, and his health. He's had a I think something with his lung, collapsed lung. You could say that's childhood healing. But really, it's reminiscing the past and things, but it could be childhood healing too. And I said to him, the reality is I've been telling you to leave that job for ages because it's just not doing you any good and they're not respecting you. And it's almost like spirit, his guides have pushed him out of that job because he wouldn't do it to respect himself. He also vapes a lot and all sorts, and all of a sudden his lungs collapsed. It's almost like the job wasn't respecting you. You weren't respecting you. We're putting a stop to all of it. You're going to start looking after yourself. You're going to start loving yourself, and you're going to start doing things that are good for you. That's what I saw from all that. Now, some people just see it as you lost your job and you're not doing well. I look at the bigger picture and I could see something was going to happen because something had to happen. And it did. Again, I did reading for him. I can't remember the cards. He knew the cards. It made sense to add to his journey specifically. It was very on point to his circumstance. And it showed things will improve for him. But again, he has to take action and stop going backwards. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, you're going to get people that are deceptive, and they're going to be people that want to effectively, if you look at that, it's sabotage. It's like he was sabotaging himself and the jobs were doing the same thing to him. Let's see what's on the back, because I think it's something positive. Freaking hell. Queen of Cups. So literally, oh, yeah. That's how he was treating himself and how others were treating him. But that's how he should be treating himself. Should be looking after himself, nurturing. It's up to people to do it for him, you know. But yeah, I don't want to go too far with this video because I want people to start leaning into their own beliefs and start going on their own journey, you know. When you reach out to your guides, to spirit, to source directly, they will answer you. But again, your vibration has to be high enough to connect. Because a lot of the time, we actually need to give permission to them to intervene. So when you don't call them to protect you, they can't always. Our guardian angels can. They can intervene. But the spirit guides, they have to have permission. Yeah, So you work on the connection, it start paying off eventually, you know. Yeah, freaking hell, 4 of Wands, celebration, marriage. Crazy. And that's really what I've been working on. I've got to know my guides a bit more. I had a vision and there was 3 of them. Again, how accurate the vision is, I don't know. It's only when it's consistent, so we'll see what happens in the future. I've had a lot of signs about the gifts I have and the fact they're expanding, and it's going to be quite prominent, so it's going to be quite interesting. I've asked specific questions to my guides because I thought about my own. This is where it's really interesting. You can start learning about your own legacy, prophecy, by actually looking at your life and your characteristics, skills, mindset. I recognize that I'm very philosophical. I question things, but I have outlooks and opinions on things that absolutely make sense to me. And to be honest, I think it goes against some sort of ingrained beliefs. So I'm happy to think outside the box and come up with my own ways of thinking. For instance, tarot readers will say you have to do a certain spread. I just do the spread as I ask. I'll just ask my guides until the cards stop, and then I'll get a spread out and I'll understand it. And I can actually clarify specific cards if I want a deeper understanding. I can also shuffle while I'm talking, and I know they'll interject because they're involved in the conversation. They're always listening. But a tarot reader will say you have to answer a certain question. And it's like, well, I don't operate the same way you do then. You know, I'll just do my own thing. I'm cool. I'm just building my connection with my guides. I'm not interested in appeasing people. So again, it's not fitting into a box, but building a connection that's true for you. Can't remember what I was saying now because there was something I was really deeply going on there. It was quite interesting. Thrown off. Completely thrown off now. Yeah. Can't get there. I don't know where I was going. That's frustrating. I watched the video back and I'll be like, should have carried on with that. Such as life. Look, nine of cups, wish fulfillment, wishes being granted. That's nice. Freaking marriage again. Do you see what I mean? Like, what are the odds out of the whole deck? I think there's like 70 odd cards. We just had the freaking that on the back of the deck both times, and I'm shuffling round. It's not like I'm holding it. That's mad. Oh, freaking hell. After that, we've got the sun. Yeah, Jesus. But like I say, I'm building the connection all the time with my guides, you know. I'll hermit. That's what I'm at the minute. I'm in solitude, working on myself, finding myself. That's a really important part of the process. Yeah, building my success and speaking up for myself. But a big part of the process really is that it's washing away ingrained beliefs, thinking for yourself, and then start to build yourself up, you know. It's like too many people become copies of others. And they listen to scripture and they listen to the way someone else interprets the scripture. And all of a sudden, you're just living your life based on someone else's ideals and beliefs, not from your own experiences. And that's what it comes down to. I have no interest in converting anyone of anything. I think it's just about being open-minded and allow people the freedom. Because I think that's where interesting conversations come from. Someone will have an experience, and maybe it's not an experience I've had. Like, I've had things with my daughter. She's very gifted, and she'll tell me something that I haven't even experienced yet. And I'm like, that's cool. You know, and I embrace it. I'm listening to her because she's experiencing it, and I trust her. So I know she's not embellishing because she doesn't do that. And likewise, I don't. So we're helping each other by sharing what we go through, our experiences with things, and it's understanding really what it does. It starts to help us understand life, the concept of life, the concept of death, the concept of our journey, what we're here to do, and how we can streamline that. Because too many people get lost. They get lost by the temptations of money, by greed, by influence, and all sorts of things. And it's like, it doesn't do you any good because we've actually come here to evolve. That's how I actually see it. Fundamentally, I see it as we come here at a certain vibration frequency. And it's a very tough life to live. And some people, sadly, will regress. So they actually lower their frequency. So they actually go worse than they did the first time. You know, it's crazy. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you did it in reverse order, but you've got 9 of Pentacles, so you've got financial wealth, financial success, but then you've got like moping and not feeling fulfilled. But then we've also got like blindfolded. You don't really see what's coming, but it's kind of like having faith that it'll all work out. That's part of the journey, you know. It's sometimes allowing us to go free. Look, bottom of the deck again, a wish fulfilled. Crazy. And that's how I live my life, you know. It's not as complicated. It's not complicated. It's go with the flow. And just constantly connect to spirit, to source in our own ways. I've got my own way of communicating now, and it's working, and I trust them. I have absolute faith. The thing is, no one could dissuade me from it. You can't dissuade. The thing is, you can't dissuade me from experience. I've had the experiences. You can't negate an experience. You can negate propaganda, scripture. These are things that are told to you. You can negate what I say. That's fine. What you can't negate is your own experiences, though. You know, some people will feel threatened. They won't like it. They'll say something else. It's like, that's fine. But I've experienced it, though, haven't I? So it's I can't dismiss an experience. That'd be stupid, because then that lowers my evolution. Now I'm going backwards because now I don't feel confident in what I'm experiencing. That doesn't make sense. I have more confidence in what I'm experiencing than what someone tells me. Of course, that's ridiculous otherwise. Oh yeah, speaking your truth, clarity. We got the bottom pick, yeah. Hangman, sort of moment of contemplation and wonder. Yeah, again, I don't want to go too far with this. I just want people to think for themselves. I don't want people to be a copy of me. I don't want someone to be a copy of someone else. I don't want someone to be a copy of that priest. But it's take all the little pearls of wisdom and form an opinion on it. And, you know, take what they say, I think, seriously, though, because you can get possessions. Like, I had something happen last year. It's frightening the living shit out of me. Before that happened, I had a medium friend who I just started talking to, very gifted. And I know he's gifted. I trusted him wholeheartedly. And he was doing a cleansing of me, and he noticed a shadow over me, a shadow energy mirroring me. And it had been there for 7 months, apparently, because he had Archangel Michael and the angels, and they confirmed. So Archangel Michael knew this happened, because apparently the first time I tried channeling. So I'm elevating, and I'm learning my gifts, and I did something I wasn't aware I was doing. Effectively, on the ether, it was like a bright light, and something got attracted to it, and it stayed there. And apparently it was mocking me, thinking it was saying he thinks he knows everything, but we're going to show him he won't achieve what he set out to do. We'll stop him. At that point, I wasn't doing my protection. This person was teaching me protection. Once I publicly spoke about that, I felt this. It was a ringing in my ear. Then I felt an energy coming in from that way, and it went over me, and then it made me feel heavy. So I struggled to lift my arm, and I quickly just got up because I thought, I'm not letting that happen. Then I texted the person, and it was from them. From that engagement, it went. And then that person asked Archangel Michael, do they have healing qualities? Because for some reason at that moment is when it stopped, and he was confirmed to say, yes, I also have healing qualities too. So that's interesting to know. I'm not saying this to convince anyone. I'm telling the experience of what I know and what was told. So they asked Archangel Michael, why would you leave that on him? And they said, to teach him a lesson. So apparently why that thing was shadowing me, trying to bring me down, I had angels pumping positive energy into me. Because I have a big purpose. They weren't going to let that do anything, like harm me. Apparently when it tries to harm me is when they'll take action. And it tried to control me and it was taken care of. So Archangel Michael did that. I've had another session with a very gifted person who can remove entities, and they did something for me personally for a family member. I had to pay them for their services, but they're very gifted at what they do. And I had absolute faith in them. And they gave me feedback on what had happened, what they'd seen. Again, it'll give people nightmares if they heard it. So the reality is, what that does, it grounds you. It makes you aware of the darkness. You respect it immensely. That's the thing. I absolutely respect it immensely. I know how manipulative they are, but I also know how powerful they are. It's like, don't just think, like you see superheroes in movies and just think it's all fairy tales and rainbows and it's light always wins. It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that. And just remember, you need to give your angels permission to intervene. So always have them around you and always call upon them and get comfortable doing that, you know. So that moment there, like I said, Archangel Michael said, teach him a lesson. He taught me a lesson. I've took it very serious since then. Maybe I lapse sometimes because it's hard to integrate everything all the time. We're not perfect. We're still learning. Yeah, so that was really interesting. And then we had plenty of readings together. Again, you'll find it under some playlists I've got on TikTok under Angelic Reading. I think I've also got it on YouTube. So you'll see that with me and this guy, we're chatting. Now, I'm very lighthearted. I can be a very serious person, but when I'm bouncing off of someone, I can be very lighthearted and energetic. So someone in the past said this to me. They said, and again, they were gifted at the time too. They said that they're hearing that you have the innocence of a child, but wisdom of the ancients. And I thought, that's quite nice. But when I look at my content, that's what stands out to me. I'm wise to an extent. I know certain things. I'm always expanding, always growing from experiences, but I believe I'm channeling a lot too that I'm not aware of, because I say a lot, I don't even know how intelligent I am, because I don't know how much is me and how much is source. Crazy. But yeah, I can very whimsical and silly too and goofy. And that's come through too. So, for instance, I've asked through my cards, my guides, like I said, about my philosophical side. I recognize that. I've also got this deep attraction to ancient Egypt. So I thought I'd ask, is one of my guides had a life in ancient Egypt? And he said yes. I was like, oh, that's not a surprise then. Was one of my guides a philosopher in a previous life? Yes. I haven't asked to what level or who they were because I'll rather leave things for the future. Then I said, is one of my guides a Greek god? And I actually got justice cards, so it's hard to interpret that. That would suggest yes, but I don't want to over exert it yet. We'll see what happens in the future. Apparently, I've got a big purpose in this life, which would mean, realistically, if you've got a big purpose in life, you're going to have very significant spirit guides to help you fulfill that purpose. Again, I'm still figuring it out. Then I was asking the cards, have I had a previous life in Egypt, ancient Egypt? And it said yes. And it started to, the more I asked the questions, it became quite clear I was a scholar, potentially at the Library of Alexandria, and other things I've heard. So that's what I've got from my tarot. But I've also heard this woman with dowsing rods who's incredible. A lot of people have seen her on TikTok. She's absolutely incredible. I have no doubt of her abilities. And she asked specifically a question which I was really intent listening to. And she asked, do you have the same personality? Do you continue with your personality in different lifetimes? Because I haven't touched on that about other lives, but we have previous lives. And they said yes. And I thought, that's interesting then. So the way I am, I analyze things. I'm very authentic. I have a lot of integrity. So I won't sell myself for anything. So, for instance, I asked about the ancient Egypt side. Did I leave ancient Egypt? And it was yes. And I was like, whoa, okay. Because it was corrupt. And I can't be around corruption. So it makes sense. Even if you had prosperity, I would walk away from it. And it's interesting that in this life I would for sure. And in the previous lives, I did too. And I think that's quite incredible. I've also had a lot of signs that this potentially is my last lifetime. So everybody goes through different lifetimes. It's not just on Earth. It could be in different realms, different places, different planets, But Earth is the heaviest, densest, the hardest experience. So we actually come here to challenge ourselves because we recognize how hard it is. But it's also the harshest lessons can be our biggest growth. And that's why we put ourselves here. Sadly, some people get lost. But some of us can actually transcend through it, and we can actually end up helping other people, which is quite incredible. So apparently I've been put here to actually help people because this is one of my last lifetimes. And I was like, well, it makes sense to be honest, because I tend to see, I'm getting goosebumps and chills now. I tend to see through what most people don't notice. I don't know. And if I can help people, I think, sort of live a better life, get away from the illusions and temptations that others live by, then I've done something positive in this world, haven't I? So my life isn't governed by money. It'd be nice to have it in this lifetime and live a better life, but at the same time, I recognize it's not the be-all and end-all. It's far more to life than that, and I think it's just fulfilling your purpose. Whatever you feel called to do has a huge bearing on your mental well-being. So yeah, it's just the more you tap into, I think the more you tap into spirit source, the more guidance you receive, and it becomes beautiful. And there's some of it just starts with synchronicities. You might see numbers everywhere. Believe me, I've seen them all the time. I've got to the point where I'm getting fed up. I still screenshot, but not so much because it's overwhelming all day. It's absolutely mad. Two of Cups. Normally you'd say that's that. Two of Cups is like lovers, it's like soulmates, like love, but Two of Cups, because we talk about spirit source, it's like a divine, it's like a union between you and spirit to source, It's a beautiful relationship there. And that's what I've built. So, like I say, the priest's terrified and he thinks everyone that connects is malevolent. And that's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. But you have to understand, if there's angels, there's demons. If there's archangels, there's archdemons. So it's just as bad on one side as it is as good on the other, But it's gravitate towards the light and keep raising your vibration. For instance, if you're going to be an alcoholic, take drugs, you're going to steal off people, and you're just going to do everything in the face of greed. It's like that's really you're being very negative, and that's really going to be your downfall. See, I don't do things to be good, to be self-righteous. I don't do it to go, look at me, I'm perfect. It's just a state of being. I have no interest in those things. They literally don't interest me. It's of no significance. I've spoken about it in a different video where this is how this is my outlook on life. I can't convince myself of something else because it doesn't exist to me. It doesn't make sense. I'm a very observant person, and I recognize that a lot of people They want to mimic others. If something seems great, they want it, but they don't look further afield. So, for instance, like I spoke in the past about fame and fortune. Some people seek it even if it's not their purpose or destiny, but someone else has it, they want it. But they don't look at the people they're trying to mirror. Do they look happy with that fame and fortune? Most of them look absolutely miserable, and they just keep wasting it. And then they keep trying to acquire more and more and more. So the pressure mounts and mounts and mounts. Then they turn to addictions, which becomes like drugs, alcohol, any other vice, a lot of infighting, a lot of superficial shit. And then a lot of them end up dying young. And then if you look at that, is that really attractive? If you can get wealth the right way, where you're mature enough to handle it and it comes naturally and through the work you do, and I think absolutely wonderful. If you chase it when you're not ready, or it was never ready, it was never meant for you, you may find yourself having an early demise, which again, if we go round in circles to the point of life, our conception, the evolution of our soul, our spirit, that wasn't evolution, was it? That was losing yourself to the heaviness of denseness of earth. You got tempted by the greed. It consumed you. And you destroyed yourself in the process. So your time on earth got terminated early. And you're going to have to come back and redo it again at some point. And hopefully don't fall in the same traps. So where I say I'm not really interested is because genuinely I'm interested in far more superior things than that. I intend to elevate my soul to the point where I don't need to come back anymore. And I'm already doing it. You know, I'm more interested in soul growth. Connect the soul spirit. Do the best things. Live in alignment. Low vibrational things just don't interest me. In fact, they actually irritate me. I can't even be around it or the people that actually are interested in that. Because my frequency is so high now that I can't be around those things. For me, it's just toxic and it's just a distraction. I don't like distractions. But again, I mean, that's what's really important too, is the things you're interested in and the people you're surrounded by. It says a lot about the frequency you're at. So sometimes it's about outgrowing people, because that says an awful lot about your frequency too, you know? Like, let's say you've got a different mindset to those around you now, and you're thinking, I see things a bit differently, I have a bit more clarity, there's more purpose to my life, I'm more connected with this. You don't even have to believe in God's spirit or anything like that, you know? You just have to be focused on yourself, like how you see your life. And sometimes you outgrow people, but if you don't release those that anchor you, that weigh you down, it says an awful lot about where you are at your moment, because you're prioritizing their needs over your own self. And again, that's another thing I've spoke about, is that we are the main characters of our lives, yet other people, we're taught to be inferior, which makes no sense. So we have to prioritize ourselves. There's no point us being miserable for the sake of someone else. Like, why should I be miserable and you're happy when it's to do with myself? It doesn't make sense. If you can't be happy for my growth and you can't elevate yourself to come where I'm going, then unfortunately I'm just going to have to say goodbye. Like, I appreciate the journey, the memories. Yeah, I can't stay here anymore. And then it's up to people to either ascend as well, or you leave them behind. It's simple as that. But if we anchor ourselves to those situations, it just means you've got a lot more growth to do still. And it might not be in a bad way. It might just be that you want to bring them with you. You want to help them heal. But some people, unfortunately, they either don't want to, or they're just not ready. And all you're doing is holding yourself back. Because sometimes part of the process as well is doing it for yourself. Sometimes you have to go in hermit mode. You have to do things solo. Become self-sufficient. There's so many lessons in life, you know. It doesn't just end with one thing and then straight into the next one. It tends to be a lesson after lesson after lesson. But within it, you start to recognize your growth. Then you get so far forward that you can't go back. That's really interesting. And I will kid you not, at some point throughout that process, you will have experiences that are unique to you. It'll be hard to explain. And it'll be up to you whether you want to continue pushing forward or whether you want to go to the safety of the familiar, because that's what a lot of people do. Even though they know there's something more profound out there and they've had a bit of it, they've had a snippet of an experience, they go back to the familiarity and don't want to open that door again. But like where I said, my family don't push themselves as I do. I'd rather throw myself into the unknown and explore it and figure it all out for myself. And I've been doing it, and it's been absolutely surreal. It's been wild. And my life cannot be any other way now, because it's all one and the same. Yeah, I don't play it simple. I don't play it small. I don't conform. I'm not here to tell people to live this way or believe this or believe that. All I'm doing is sharing my experiences, and hopefully it will inspire others to explore themselves. That's what it comes down to. Liberate them to be free. rather than be surrounded by so many people that tell you can't do this or you can't do that or that doesn't exist. It's like you can't prove a negative, and all this stuff. So it's like people, it's like what I said about my daughter at the beginning. When she asked about Zeus, it's like I can't say one way or another whether that was true, whether what you said about the split soul and it has to come together with something he set in motion. I can't say whether that's true or not, can I? And people could argue one way or the other for the rest of their lives, couldn't they? Someone could say that's absolutely lies. Well, how do you know it's a lie? Someone else could say that's absolutely true. Yeah. It's like, how would you know it's 100% true? At the end of the day, we can only go by experiences. You see me shuffle my cards, I get responses. And I could ask a question, it can go on a massive spread because I can clarify and clarify and clarify. I could then ask a similar question in a month, and it'll be similar, but maybe the timeline would have moved forward. I could ask about a certain person, how they're failing, and I'll get a response about that card. And then I'll ask maybe the next day or a couple of days later, and it'll be maybe not that card, but it's evolved, it's slightly different. But the reality is, it's usually very similar. So it's not like it's wild one way, one wild the next way. No, well, it's crazy, and it's like that's how it comes out. I get the information that I asked for, and I think the reality is, once you've been on this timeline for long enough, where you really are connected to source to spirit, you don't go through a phase where you're doubting it anymore, because you just know they're answering you. It's actually really beautiful, and like I say, it's hard for me to put myself in other people's shoes now because I'm not in a phase where I'm worried. It's like I just know they're there and it's part of my life. It is what it is, I recognize it's probably terrifying to some people who've not had that experience, and maybe seems wild and crazy to those that haven't. But again, it's not for me to validate it, though, is it? It's not for me to prove anything. It's like that's my experience. That's the one I'm having. Yeah. But it is what it is. So that's where I'm at. I'm always evolving, always having new experiences, and always growing, really. So it's quite exciting. It's got to be, if I meditate more, I'm going to get a lot more visions. I'm told I've got clairvoyance. Apparently I've got all the clairs. I've got all the abilities where some people only have one or two, and apparently I've got all of them. And the visions have been so clear when I've meditated, but I just don't meditate enough because I've got other things to do, and I don't always seek the answers that everyone's seeking. Sometimes I just have an inner knowing, which again is one of the abilities anyway. I naturally know things, and I'll say it, and it's like tends to come true for the most part, and it's crazy, and it's like I just know. It's like I don't decipher things all the way as other people. Kind of swords, literally to the point of exhaustion. Yeah, not feeling fulfilled, such as life. I think the spirit's just trying to show me that side as well. That's important because that's what it is. I've been on this journey for 2017 is when I had my first experience. My daughter was taken away by her mother. I went to a psychic medium who didn't know about the circumstance, and they had everyone to a T, even the people involved. I kid you not, even my ex-partner. She had issues and she pointed that out. People around them pointed it out. Said my daughter would be in hospital. She was in hospital, and within two or 3 months, she was in hospital having surgery. She'd never been in hospital before, so that was crazy. And there's a lot of things that have happened since then they've mentioned. They've also mentioned someone, letter beginning with a J, will leave and come back. She would not let it go. I've since met someone whose name begins with J. Through a lot of sessions since then, it's turned out that they're my twin flame. I didn't even believe in twin flames. I believed in soulmates. I never believed in twin flames. It was like, for me, it was like people romanticizing things too much and putting too much emphasis on a relationship. Effectively, they're holding on to toxic relationships and giving it status, and I didn't like that at all. So I was like, I don't believe in it. But since then, I've just had sign after sign constantly talking about this person being your twin flame, the letter J, synchronicities all over the place, like the numbers. Actually, people put numbers on their videos, but I'm getting numbers in the time, the battery. I'm getting it on the likes, the faves, the comments, all sorts of stuff. It's wild. Then I'm getting cards on my tarot deck that points towards it as well. And it's got relentless. And then there's days when I'm like feeling weird, like I'm feeling really down, or maybe I'm feeling a bit passionate or something, but it's out of nowhere, and I'm thinking that must be them. So I'm starting like this. That is my twin. I got no doubt at this stage. I've gone from someone who didn't believe in twin flames to now I know my one. I know who it is, and that bothers me in a way because I can't have another relationship. I can't have relationships. I can't date because I know who my person is. So it's like, what's the point? It's only them, isn't it? So that's frustrating. So I miss out on other experiences because I can't, because I'm waiting for my person. I've been an atheist most of my life, all the way up to about the age of 30, 32. There's periods where maybe you believe certain things, but I never believed in religions. I've always been anti-religion. I got a B in religious education, and I didn't even study. I didn't even like the class. I used to mess about. And I got a B anyway. Teacher said you could be a monk, and she was like really shocked, to be honest, when she said that. And it turns out I've got very good gifts, and it's like, okay, so I innately am good with those things. It's just that's my gift of this what my lifetime. That's what I came here to do, you know. Um, but I think the one thing I would say amongst all of this is people say they don't. A lot of people say they don't believe in things, but yet they'll stand steadfast by the zodiac. I'm an Aquarius, but since then I figured out through my I don't know what you call it, like a life chart. I know I know the whole thing. You know, the fact that I have Sagittarius in me, so I am feisty. Quite outspoken with the Capricorn, but I'm very emotional as well and very spiritual with the Pisces. So I've got all these other little connotations to my the dynamic. But my son, my main one is Aquarius, and I would say most people recognize their zodiac and they will stand by that zodiac. They'll remember that for the rest of their life. You know, they won't let it go. They'll always say they're that, and it's like maybe have a think as to why you have an attachment to that. Because if nothing exists, why do you have a zodiac and why do you hold on to it? Because if it's meaningless, isn't it? But it's not meaningless, is it? So that's worth considering. But again, you gotta be careful with the dark as well as the light, and gravitate towards the light. Call upon your guides. Have your experiences. Like I said, my book. I don't like self promotion, and it's not about self promotion. You know, I'm just saying this book. You'll see the journey through it. And I think you'd be mesmerized by some of the experiences because I don't embellish anything. You know, it's literally what I'm experiencing in the same way the follow-up book is what I'm experiencing. And the books that I've done in between about self-healing, personal development, they do include certain parts of spirituality just because it was relevant. So, and even my first books, A Father's Daughter and Heartbroken Daughter, had some mention of it if there was a reading or anything happening in that period. So if you was to read the first book, for instance, A Father's Daughter, all the way up to Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul, you'd go on one hell of a journey because that's my journey. And the next books that come out are the next additions to that journey. And that's all I'm interested in doing is sharing it. I document it for others to see the trail. I don't share it to convince anyone or force anyone to believe this or that. For me, it's just a timeline of events. I can show what I experienced that year, what my thought processes was, what I intended to do next year. And then let's see how that worked out. And then we get to see the trail. And eventually people will go on a similar journey and they won't feel so lonely. Because believe me, it's been heavy opening this can of worms. I had people, they either didn't believe in me or they were terrified for it to go any further. And I just kept pushing forward. Then I started meeting people randomly, which was crazy. Even more crazy is that I had like TikTok videos, I think it was. And it was like, they were mentioning certain like people coming to your life, you'll do this, you do that. And then they came along and then they just come along out of nowhere, you know? And it's like, what the hell? So yeah, I don't really see the point to keep talking about what's coming in the future. I've got big things apparently coming for the future and I'm excited about it. But I'm not sure how many more videos I could do trying to inspire people because I've spent years doing it. It's been a process, you know, and I just really want to leave people now to have their experiences. I don't want to keep badgering and saying this and that. I want them to just experience it for yourself. Because what happens is effectively you'll always outgrow people. People will outgrow you and you'll outgrow people. So on my journey, for instance, if we go back to 2020, there was tarot readers on TikTok who I was mesmerized by. I was like, they're incredible. There was even a guy on YouTube I saw, Matt Kahn. I was like, my mind was mesmerized. He was saying things that made sense to me. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. It makes absolute sense to me. Now I don't watch any of it. I haven't watched him for years. The tarot readers that I looked up to, I no longer listen to because I've outgrown their content. You know, I'm past that now. I'm on my own journey. I'm going way beyond this. And even people that I was maybe watching 6 months ago, you know, I just skipping past now. It's like, it's too basic for me now. I'm thriving for more knowledge, for more, you know, but everybody's at different stages. That's the thing. So you get some tarot readers who are new to it. They'll be talking certain things. People that are maybe trying to give people guidance. You can tell they're very early amateur. I wouldn't say amateur, but they're early level. In a few years, maybe they'll be stronger at it and they'll be developing it further. but I recognize where I've been and I recognize where I've got, where I am, and where I'm going. And it's like, I can see the growth immensely. Not just through my delivery and what I do, but also by the fact that I personally feel I've outgrown the content that I used to be interested in. And for me, that's quite insightful. So really, it's about how far we push ourselves towards the unknown, the unfamiliar, and embrace it. But take it very, very seriously, because there are two sides to this. You know, this isn't just, like I said, this isn't just fairy tales and rainbows here. You have to be very respectful of both sides, and be careful how you choose to communicate. I don't touch Ouija boards, for instance, won't go near it. You open up portals where you don't know where the portal opens, and you don't know how to close it, and anything that comes through, how do you remove it? That's risky as shit. Like, I don't play with that. Like I said, I communicate with my guides. I focus solely on my guides. I don't play about with other people's energy. I don't play around with other people's connections or energy, anything's around them. I'm only ever communicating with my team. And like, if I want to talk to, if I want Jesus, for instance, I'll just say, look, this question, I like to ask Jesus some questions. Then I'd give it a moment. If I have a positive feeling, I have this thing, then I know he's there. And then I'll ask the questions through my tarot cards and things. It's rare for me to do that, but if I feel like it warrants it and I'm ready for it, then I'll do it. But I don't play with other stuff, you know, and I think be very mindful of that. And I think it's really important to heed those warnings. Because, you know, once you have a negative experience, it's going to scare the living shit out of you, in all honesty. But the reality is, once you start connecting to source and spirit, you're going to have negative experiences. Oh, you're going to have negative experiences, but you get more comfortable with it. For instance, I said I had the other one, but recently I was in bed. I think it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I had my eyes closed. I was asleep. But I felt my legs lifting. This was only like a week ago. My daughter was staying. She was here for a week. She's gifted as well. And she has things happening at home. So I wouldn't be surprised if she bought something. Don't want to go too deep into that. But my legs were lifting out of nowhere. Like, I could feel them lifting up. Now, whether it was just in a dream, I don't know. It felt real enough to me. And I thought, this is weird. Like, this ain't good. But I'm peaceful in that sort of situation now. I don't panic. And I felt something weighing me down, like something's fighting me. You know, I don't know if you've had that sleep paralysis, but sometimes it's more than sleep paralysis. It's something. So I just stay calm, kept my eyes closed. And I say straight away, spirit guides, angels, come close, protection. And after that, it's like, call Archangel Michael. I'm getting goosebumps now. And I just call Archangel Michael in. And I just say, cleanse my, please. I'm always polite, like, please cleanse my energy and my aura, remove any negative attachments, and then clean my space in my home, cleanse, you know, and without fail, he always comes through. You know, the legs went back to normal, the pressure on me faded, and the light in my mind just went bright as hell. It's like crazy bright. Then I spoke to my daughter next day, and she said that she sensed something standing by her door, because she sleeps with the door open. I sleep with my door closed. And she stays up really late, crazy. I just let her be. She said if she felt something standing by the door, but she didn't look. She made sure not to look. She's not stupid, you know. And I said, what time is that? She said about 3. I said, I think that's the same time I'm thinking. That's around about that time. I'm pretty sure I had my issue with my bloody leg. You know, but we've had enough experiences that it doesn't phase us anymore. And I say it resolved itself, but it does show that attacks will continue throughout life. You know, it's unfortunately, it comes with the territory. And the reality is, even if you're not spiritual, you're not having any experiences in that sense, you may get targeted and you don't even know about it anyway. So ignorance isn't always bliss. And that's the way I think. I think sometimes it's like people can convince themselves that something isn't true, but then that doesn't change that it exists. You know, sometimes negative things will try to attack us personally, but if they can't, they'll use others anyway. So sometimes people do mean things to you, or you have bad luck, or you have this happening. That could be them doing that. So they could be causing the bad luck, or they could be putting people in your way to try to circumvent and slow you down. And sometimes it's a bit of a challenge, you know. And it's like, always work towards your highest good, though. You know, it's not always fight fire with fire. Sometimes you can fight fire with a bit of peace and love. Not all the time, you know. I can be just as fast as everyone else, and we can react in however way we choose. But it's always best to react in the best way possible, really, in a positive way. Recognize that sometimes people lash out, people vent. Sometimes you just got to let people vent. Sometimes things I say could terrify the living shit out of some people, so they'll get defensive. And it's like, that's fine. think what you want, say what you want. It's not going to change. Again, like I said at the beginning, it doesn't change how I feel about me. And if I don't comment, it's because I can't be bothered to interact with it. It's like, it's up to people what they want to believe, isn't it? I'm not here to convince anyone. I just want to empower people to live their true, authentic lives and not really start mirroring all this negativity and hate or be scared to really reach out, because that's what this priest is doing. Unwittingly or wittingly, either he's doing it unknowing or he knows he's doing it. He's scaring people from connecting to spirit, to source, to connect to your spirit guides and angels. And I find that quite scary. The planet's low vibrational as it is, and that's not helping. The more we connect to spirit source and we start having these beautiful experiences and we start aligning with our authenticity and with our life purpose, goal and destiny, the sooner the planet heals and gets back to itself, because then we're not here to hurt each other. So I don't steal off anyone. I don't manipulate. I don't try to be anything other than myself. And if more people were like that, then where would the hate come from? Think about that. But yeah, it's the world is a crazy place, and and it gets even more terrifying the deeper you go into the spiritual sense. Believe me, it throws you for a loop, because it's so far out of our understanding sometimes, and you're discovering and learning fresh, like it's areas of life you've never even comprehended before. Just to wrap up, like for instance with my daughter, I was fighting tooth and nail. I was always battling for her, arguments with my ex and her family court. And in the end, it was through this medium I was talking to. But I was thinking it beforehand, actually. I'd already made a decision that the fighting isn't getting anywhere. We're just going around in circles. And we had a channeling session in November 2023. And I said, it was with the angels, and he was channeling through all these things. We asked so many questions. And they said, what do you want to ask? What's the question? Do you have any questions? I said, no, not really. And they said, he's always got questions. Come on, if anyone's going to ask something, it's going to be him. And I was like, my mind was going blank. There's a lot of pressure at the moment at that one spot, And I said, why is she not home yet? I said, we've suffered enough and I've done everything asked. And they said, we need more from you. And you have your journey and she has hers. When the time's right, you will be together. And that was hard to take, but I understood it. It's not all about me. She has lessons to learn on her side too. And that's truly important. And that puts it into perspective, that there's so much that all of us experience, and a lot of it is life lessons. It's for us to evolve and learn and understand. I recognize what she's been through similar to me, but she'll be able to help people in ways I can't. I've had my personal experience of the separation and loss, but she's had a very unique version of that too. And I think she'll be able to help children and parents, people that go through that in the future if she chooses to. So yeah, she has her own destiny, and I have to appreciate that, So it's out of my hands. So it doesn't matter how much you bash your head against the wall and say this is injustice. It was never going to happen because spirit has a different plan. So you can either believe that, or you can believe you can keep fighting through courts and you'll get justice. But if it's not meant to happen, it's not going to happen anyway. So kind of there's a beauty in understanding that, because you let go and you get on with what you're supposed to be doing. But yeah, if you don't believe in any of that, it's going to be hard to accept that, isn't it?